Welcome everyone to tonight's MFA reading series here at Rosemont College. I'm very happy to welcome Tony Knighton as our special guest. Tony's short story collection and novella, Happy Hour and Other Philadelphia Cruelties, has recently been released by Crime Wave Press. And we have a whole host of other readers, including Christine-Salvatore, Laura Buenzle, Nancy Kotkin, Pagliarulo, and Orey Wilson.
Finding Home. In Santa Monica, she held a string of beads to her throat, and I told her the blue matched her eyes and the green her tattoo, that dragon etched into her foot. Years later, she wrote me long letters on cream paper in seasoned ink, telling of temptations, her ache, and of its escape. When I asked her to come home, when I tried to persuade the gold craggy coast out of her, she only said New Jersey had gone gray. She left behind our bare beaches for the sunlight that bleached her blonde hair and slept on someone's rooftop for a month, her face brightened by windburn, not sunshine. But she was steadfast about never coming back to the winter she left behind, and now that things have gone bad again, I can't reach across the broken bottle blackness between us to bring her home. California is no place for her to settle down. The bluest water still deep enough to drown in. These days, she can't discern if she is moving towards something or away. Airline itineraries don't help. To go north, sometimes she must first travel west. And all the time she feels lost on arrival. When one home replaces another, does the body ever find rest? Accustomed to being just gone, she's forgotten the solid strain of being present, and at every gate, her greeters wait for her absence. She likes it best in the air, going anywhere, the checkerboard pattern of the earth shifting slowly beneath her. North, east, south, and west, she would smash the compass glass if she could. How wonderful to be just leaving, always about to arrive. When it fell from the sky, where was the drop, the lingering, the landing? Where was the measurer of heartbeat with her scale and feather, and why? The pulse, the throb, the soothsayer in whom we all must put our trust. Metronome suspended at our center, when did you learn to lie? Supported by the earth, neglected by the sun, ignorant of the sea, each scar is an indulgence, each cut a quickening of pace. This war-torn heart watches the wall fall, mortar and brick already in hand, salt of the earth always prepared to repair the cavern again. Your heart is protected by a black hole, a congenital defect. It yawned wide when your father left, stretched like a portal each time your mother remarried, grew with each indignity afforded your red-haired clan of siblings. The military taught you how to give in to the swallow of that blackness, how to feed each bright meteor in and let go. There was no coming out the other side. Nothing shines bright for you for any length of time. Like light from a dead star reaching beyond its atmosphere, what you give is smoke and mirrors. I believed in the man in the moon all along. Faith, like love, cannot sustain us. Tell me it isn't so. I have loved, and all has fallen away, dispersed like clouds in an imperceptible wind. This blue sky leaves me cold. The dogwood startles me this morning as I mistake its flower-laden branches for snow. Disoriented again. I need flame in order to rise. I strike a match for every misunderstood thing in the forest, join forces with twigs and leaves and deer. Don't tell me not to cry. Don't tell me the wind isn't my father. I am all I've ever made myself to be. Down on my knees now, elbow deep in ash and soil, where robins ignore my persistent gardening and wait for rain. I cannot mimic their faith. I am mistaking apples for oranges. There's no telling what I'm capable of now. Thank you.
Please welcome Nancy Kotkin.
Marisol wakes up in her twin-sized bed, alone. She drags herself into the kitchen kitchen and perches on the counter a single stool. She pours herself some Rice Krispies for breakfast. She'd rather have eggs, but it's too much trouble to scramble just one egg. She splashes milk into her bowl. Then she hears it. A whisper at first, growing steadily louder. Take the 42 bus down Walnut to 18. Huh? Who said that? Marisol inquires through the empty room. She twists and turns in her seat. None of the windows are open. Where's that voice coming from? She lowers her head to the bowl. Yes, her cereal is talking to her. And it isn't merely saying snap, crackle, pop either. With her ear cocked, Marisol listens intently. These are definitely instructions. She grabs a pen and jots them down. After work, Marisol removes the directions from her purse. She follows each step precisely and lands in front of Urban Outfitters, where a gigantic sign in the front window advertises up to 70% off all summer clothing. She normally shops at the Goodwill thrift store, but who could pass up an opportunity like this? 3 hours later, Marisol emerges with 4 shopping bags and pulls her trendy new wardrobe home. She's so excited that she tries on her new purchases again before hanging up each item. Next morning, Marisol pours milk over her Rice Krispies and lowers her head to the bowl. Ride the Market Frankfurt train to the 5th Street stop. The north side of that Arch Street block is very residential. The only business she sees is East End Salon. Marisol fingers her straight, mousy hair. She hasn't indulged in a haircut in ages. Why not? She enters the building and warily eyes the list of high-priced services. The receptionist informs her that they have a first-time customer discount coupon. Marisol takes the ad from her, worth 30% off, and requests the next available stylist. While she waits, she drinks in the chic old city decor, making notes of the simpler decorating ideas for her own sparse apartment. Awards dot the exposed brick walls amid the flowing greenery. The framed row directly in front of her says, Best of Philly, hair coloring, for 6 straight years. Marisol's stylist introduces herself. What will it be today? I was thinking I might like to try something more layered. Marisol looks back at those awards. Maybe some highlights, too. A couple hours later, Marisol can't believe the stunning beauty that looks back at her from the mirror. She leaves the salon more confident than she has felt in a long time. The following morning, Marisol listens attentively to her Rice Krispies. Get on the number 36 trolley and get off at 38th Street. Marisol ascends the stairs amidst the ivy-covered brick buildings of the University of Pennsylvania campus. She follows the walkway to Fisher Bennett Hall and locates the auditorium just in time for the opening of a Toastmasters meeting. Public speaking has never been her thing, but she takes a seat. The group's members are very kind to her, and she's surprised to discover that she has fun. They are so encouraging, she signs up to give a speech at the next meeting. On her way out of the auditorium, she picks up flyers for a book club and an art history lecture, too. After a good night's sleep, Marisol looks forward to her bowl of Rice Krispies. But the box is disappointingly light. She shakes it vigorously. A single flake tumbles out. She wets it with milk and places her ear into the bowl. You're on your own now, sweetie. Good luck to you.
Our next reader is Laura Buenzle, who holds her MFA from Rosemont College. She is our alumni reader tonight.
El Hilero. The dancer's skirt opens like a sail. She flicks her wrist and it curls back towards her, white fabric flashing sharply. Black fringe from her shawl falls, then rocks back and forth as her loud steps carve the floor. Her shadow flickers behind a row of musicians whose heads bend against the wall. They play their tunes as if in a trance, the notes rising, billowing, and dropping in air. She begins her song, Duende. Sweat beads on her upper lip and dampens her black hair. Her steps grow quick, then frantic. Her head tilts, and one pale arm retreats, then stretches. She beckons and whirls. Her feet sound a staccato beat. Women in the tavern gather around. They're unsteady on chairs like mermaids on rocks. They shout like sirens, eager with song. The sailors begin to clap a rhythm. She's their memory of a masthead, and she moves like a bird. The mariners line the room. They sway with her steps and begin a chant as they're carried by her to foreign shores. Nairobi, splendid grove, yellow-barked acacias, fever trees. Isolated rock, narrow and rutted, leads to a place where there are springs. Nairobi, rising summits, a stronghold, a showpiece, all bought out, split up, landless farmers, the English pub, different rules. The tour made by taking a mile within a couple of miles. This is a good place for the intrepid. Beautiful runs from over the top. Nairobi, its sisal estates and pineapple fields, the flame trees, the garden of blue, the whale-backed mountain, Buffalo Mountain, watching waterbuck, bushbuck, impala, leopards, and rhino, all to see. Most people view picnic spots. The mountain is reached along a fork. Take the branch, a bridge, the Athi River, sequence of rapids rich in life. Picnic along the graves of Sir and Lady, faithful lady, a library in memory of. Nairobi, take the road from Nairobi, return to Nairobi, take the main road after crossing but before going. Take a road clearly marked high on the Aberdares. It is possible. Drive the main Nairobi road. Each excursion should be allowed. Drive right. Nairobi, continue northward through steep and rushing rivers. If you are lucky, the view passes the place first settled, the Garden of Eden. It is lush green all the year round. Eucalyptus, white rhino, treetops and gardens, the grounds of spent life. Nairobi, over and back again, go through, take the miles. The whole country receives the passing. This is the land for the start of the route, the equator, the base, the only place in East Africa.
Ray Pagliarulo is 3 short months away from completing her MFA in creative writing. Please welcome Ray.
Many of the decisions I've made personally and professionally have been in the interest of safety. My first job was working as a Roma in Tony and Tina's wedding, which ran regularly at South Philly's now defunct Snyder Plaza. If you haven't seen the show, it's basically an interactive wedding where the audience plays the guests and everything goes wrong and then they feed you. I'm sure it's very funny, but it's the kind of thing you only have to see once or twice and you're done. I was 15 years old. My friend's dad played Tony Roma, the owner of the fake company that catered the fake wedding, and his daughters were the servers. Offhandedly, my friend mentioned that he was stressed out from auditioning new Romas for the holiday season. I'd been in a bunch of school plays, so I figured why not? I called at my friend's house, asked for her dad, who had always taken a special shine to me, and we hatched a plan to get me in. It was really very simple. I had to go down to the Snyder Plaza, and I had to show them that I could pretend to be someone else and serve sausage and peppers at the same time. I also told them I was 17, which was not that tough thanks to my bra size. So without checking for ID or asking about my parents, they put me on the roster for 2 shows a week. Snyder Plaza was a rundown, old school catering hall that smelled like every meal that had ever been served. The fluorescent lights around the mirrors in the dressing room, which was basically a walk-in closet, buzzed and popped constantly. The walls were sticky and warm with the residue of a million weddings and birthdays and christening parties and confirmation parties and probably a few funerals too. This is showbiz, I thought. Hate it. Every Friday and Saturday for months, my mom drove me to work. I got dressed in the walk-in with a bunch of chain-smoking women named Pat, who didn't seem to like me at all. We all wore white shirts, black skirts, slippery pantyhose that gathered up in your crotch, and non-slip black shoes. On the nights I was supposed to be a sassy loudmouth Roma, I wore hoop earrings and red lipstick. On the nights I was supposed to play a mousy quiet Roma, I wore glasses, and opted not to rat up my hair like Pat usually did. The wedding singer was a tall, lanky guy with Billy Idol hair named Artie. Artie scammed on every single woman that worked there, no matter what she looked like or if she was married. He dealt exclusively in sex, be it the promise or delivery of. He had a history of sleeping with the Romas. So after the show one night, he sidled up to me as I sat at the bar, waiting for my mom to come pick me up, and offered to buy me a drink. I batted my eyes, and I asked for a Shirley Temple, which he thought was charming and completely unrelated to our clear 20-year age difference. While I sipped and chewed on the saccharine sweet maraschino cherries, he asked me all the things sexual predators generally like to ask. Do you have a boyfriend? Why not? You're so pretty. I bet the boys fall all over you. I bet you have to beat them off with a stick or something else, right? How far have you gone? Second base? How about third? After begging him off, I calmly notified him of my age and told him I wasn't having sex and I certainly wouldn't be taking him up on his offer. It seemed only to intrigue him more. What 15-year-old virgin at a bar wouldn't, I guess? Now this I remember like it was yesterday. He said to me, as clear as day, "You say the word, honey, and I'll screw you so hard you'll forget your name. Say the word." I tried to hide my shock, especially when not a moment later my mom appeared at the door to come pick me up. I smiled at him, tried not to vomit into my mouth, and said, "How does no sound?" Hopped off the seat and ran out the door. The following week, I only got called for the Friday show. When I showed up, Pat were even chillier to me than usual. It wasn't long after that they stopped calling me altogether. I would stop the stage manager's answering machine asking if there had been a mistake for weeks until finally he called me back and said they didn't have room for me anymore, that some of the other Romas wanted more hours or one of them had a cousin that needed a job. And since I was 15, I didn't put two and two together, and I accepted the end of my showbiz career. I have worked as a water ice scooper, an office assistant, a barista, a short order cook, a seating hostess, a sales associate, and an exotic clothing store that had a piercing shop in the back, a cafe manager, a database administrator, a bookseller, a personal assistant, and a secretary. There was nothing in me crying out for any of these jobs. I got them so I could pay the bills. I got them because that's what I was supposed to do. And Pico doesn't take IOUs. I left each one with a sickened sneer and took each new one with a bemused shrug. Each one was a paltry leap, a sure thing that would not push the boundaries of my ability too far. Every one, no matter how dead-end or dirty, reminded me of the real fire lit behind my paper-thin work ethic. Do not let her down. Do what she taught you. Stay safe. When I trace back the dots from job to job, all the way back to the night in my bedroom, when I learned that very important lesson, I think about all the things I haven't done. This is where comparison comes in, thieving away any joy I might derive from my maturity and responsibility. This is where I scroll through Instagram at photos of girls my age teaching English in Korea or going to live in a different city because they felt like it. This is where I enviously smile at the friend who gave up her long, stable career to be a life coach or a yoga teacher or an organic chef. This is where I swoon when I hear about the guy who worked like a dog for a year straight, saved every penny he earned, and then quit his job and traveled around Europe for 6 months straight. These are not urban legends or friends of friends of friends. These are not American Express commercials or chick lit beach books. These are people I know. None of them had a guarantee that their risk would pay off. And few of them perhaps had safety nets as strong and as steadfast as mine. But they all turned up their chins and went ahead anyway. And they're all fine. They may not go out for brunch or go shopping as often as they used to, but they are fine. And they know what they're capable of in the face of a genuine, bona fide, honest-to-goodness risk. And I don't. Thank you.
All right, our next reader is Orey Wilson, who describes himself as being desperately Ohioan.
Is called Hydra. We parked our cars in a pothole patch in front of that warped little cabin. The trees looked like summer had given up on them and their branches heaved in the breeze. The showers stuck and the stovetop smoked and every corner crumbled. It was a paradise. It was our last chance. We came to discuss the impending year, the place where Ben should have been crackled. There was only 8 of us left. I was only a junior, but I told them we would probably lose our house. They didn't blink at me, only nodded. With or without the house, we were still brothers. But we weren't. Not anymore. We were a hydra, each snapping head trying to bite and catch from the same boiling body. Kyle fumbled through the cigarette smoke, and Tobias slithered through the pots and pans. Charlie and Jack fenced with broken brooms, and my jaw buckled like a fence post. Alex and Anthony stretched their necks to the back room and came back smelling like grass and dirt. Our table was a subdivision of beer cans, side to soaking side, forming nameless streets and alleyways. Our scythe talons reflected in the Weetwater pond near the center. Every glass was swinging. We sang until our voices cracked. We toasted to anything that moved us, but never touched the roof. The night was shattered bottles, sharp and hazy, and no one knew who caused it because we had all caused it, and it caused us back. It was the bark, gurgle, pop. Our tails snapped down gas station landscapes and tipped a couch while Kitty napped and wheezed. Somebody punched into the ground and everything that was sprouted around it. Nothing was left beyond the edge of that weekend, but we knew the hours were brittle like walls made of chalk. Charlie was spinning and Jack was slamming down everything not moving. The shingles of our house shook above my eyes and Anthony couldn't keep himself from crying in my arms for hours, although no one remembered that the day he left for good. Jack and Alex raised their arms to form an arch for me to pass beneath. I ran below and they caught me between their elbows, trapped, housed, embraced, strangled, call it everything, or air, but I choked it down until each of our tethered necks were breathing it and were burned it, like a torch, like a match, like a word. The next poem is called The Draft. The door to room 2 had to stay closed all winter because the cold would wander around the house and repaint the baseboards or wash the dishes. A couch would be moved in front of that room to keep the breeze from squeezing below the door frame, to open the blinds in the morning or wake Alex up for class. Vacuum lines would sprout from the carpet without warning if the door was left ajar. During chapter meetings, the door would crash open and blow paddles off the wall. Once, Jack woke up, hungover and half blind, and after an hour of searching, found his car keys hanging from the doorknob. Kyle never liked to look at that door. Jordan knocked on it once, but her knuckles ended up bruised and chapped. And if anyone was ever brave enough to cross the threshold, they would find it empty, or at least it felt that way.
Tony Knighton is both an author and a lieutenant in the Philadelphia Fire Department. Please welcome Tony Knighton.
It was a tough ride holding on to the tops of the high wooden truck sides, their legs bent at the knees riding out the bumps. We weren't on the road. There weren't any roads where we were going. The trail we were on roughly followed a dry stream bed that wouldn't see much water until the rains came. Ace said, "I tell you, I need the 5. Bello won't wait forever." He took a pouch from his khaki shirt pocket. There were dark sweat stains under his arms, rimmed with a line of dried salt. "It's a beautiful place, Jimmy. Not some slop shoot, a real old-style pub. He chuckled. Can't you just see me in a barman's white shirt and black trousers? He unrolled the pouch, grabbed a thick wad of the brown leaf tobacco and shoved it into the side of his mouth. I could see. Ace looked a lot more like a bartender than what he was. If he'd stayed at home, he might at this very minute be happily tapping pints of Smithwick somewhere along the Falls Road. It was time to let a little air out of his body. We don't know how big a load we're going to take. We'll have to wait and see. I took up the water jug from the floorboards and drank. He was quiet for a moment, then sat back. Ah, you're right. I'm just hoping to see enough from tonight's labors to get out of all of this, you know. His speech lapsed into the rhythms of his youth as he finished the sentence. Over the years, he'd worked to rid himself of his brogue, only slipping into it at times like now when he felt sorry for himself, or for comic effect when his mood was up. I didn't leave the old place soon enough to lose it from his speech, not completely, he'd like to say. He hadn't left soon enough to stay out of the kind of trouble that prevented his return either. He'd never gone into detail, but considering his heritage and disposition, it was a good bet that some of the boyos from the Royal Ulster Constabulary would like to have a talk with him. He waved away the water as I offered it. This should be a good payday, I said. Let's do the job and be done with it. We haven't worked all that much lately. It only got it worked up again. I'm well aware that we've not worked in recent times. I just can't be as casual about our upcoming transaction as you seem to be. I don't trust the prick. He's selling out his associates just so he can realize a slightly larger profit. What prevents him from treating us in kind? He gripped the top of the windshield as we rolled over a depression. I looked back and forth between him and the trail and said, these aren't his regular guys. Kuhn thinks they're deserters from Botswana. It doesn't matter. He doesn't trust them to play fair, so he decided to take it off. We can't really expect the same money these guys were going to get. They've been hiding out for days. We're only looking at a few hours' work. Ace was unconvinced. I don't like it. He spit over his shoulder and folded his arms across his chest. I don't like dealing with the crowd. Fucking middleman. He was starting to annoy me. I shifted a little in the seat. The .357 I carried on my belt was digging into my head. Look, he's doing a job neither of us wants to do. Neither of us could. I don't like him either, but we don't have the contacts. Without him, we have a truckload of pretty tusks we can't sell. I shouldn't have bothered. The worst thing to do to Ace was point out that he was wrong. I still say I want at least 5. Fellow won't wait forever. It was his way of ending the conversation. I'd lived with the man's mood swings since I'd met him in Bahrain 15 years earlier. The 4 days it had taken to liberate Kuwait hadn't been enough for me. He'd been looking for someone handy to help him with a bit of business. We'd been doing this and that together ever since. I kept my eyes focused on the trail. It gets dark fast in the grasslands, and I couldn't use headlights. Our presence in the bush with the hardware we carried would be difficult to explain to any government man that might happen upon us. A pair of Heckler Koch NP5s was on the seat between us. In the absence of conversation with Ace, I could hear Frederick jabbering away to Joseph in the bed of the truck. They were pros, in this since they were kids. I knew what they were doing without looking at the reflection in the rearview mirror. They'd be sharp, eyes open, but Freddie would look at his older comrade from time to time to see if his point had been taken. Joseph would smile and nod, rarely adding anything of his own. It was his habit to finger a small two-headed ivory carving that hung around his neck on a leather thong and mouth something to himself, prayer maybe, his lips moving with the recitation of a silent litany. I sensed that Joseph had long ago grown weary of this life, but was trapped, knowing nothing else. I liked the work in the countryside, only going into the cities now and then for a taste of real liquor and a woman who wouldn't give me something that would make my cock fall off. The sun was well under the horizon, and I spotted the moon through the twilight, nearly full, off to my left. There were more and more trees. We were on the edge of the forest. Frederick called out. I sat up in the seat and looked at his reflection in the mirror. He pointed to our right. About 50 feet off the trail, a pack of wild dogs was making short work of a deer carcass. Ace shouted at them. A few of the dogs looked up, curious. Their eyes reflected the moonlight and seemed to glow. The animals were lean and vicious. Their ribs stood out, making zebra stripes of shadow across their mangy coats. They went back to their meal as we rolled by. Ace said, "Some big cat probably took that down and got barely a bite for himself before that lot showed up and chased him off." He spit over the door and turned toward me. Lousy scavengers, capitalizing on another's hard work. His analogous reference to our situation with Coon wasn't lost on me, but I was too busy to indulge him in his petulance. He took one more shot. "If you're ever unfortunate enough to be facing down a pack of dogs or a pack of Zulus," he nodded in the direction of the two in the truck bed, "the proper course of action is the same. Keep a prayer on your lips and save the last round for yourself." He patted my revolver at the back of his hand. I drove on, following his directions to the ambush site he picked out. It was a natural bottleneck. The trail hemmed in at this point by the tree line and a sharp curve in the dry stream. The bunch we were taking would need to travel miles out of their way to avoid this choke point. We knew they were heading to meet Coon at the outskirts of Summit, the rail junction in this part of the country. They'd come down from ivory poaching in the Kabanga region, ranging even into Angola. The big elephants didn't travel this far south in the dry season. Using the winch mounted on the front of the truck, we dragged the downed tree trunk across the trail on the far side of the curve. Then we hid the truck in the bush and took up positions and waited. Nightfall revealed a million stars. They came in two vehicles. I could see that they were green hands, inexperienced. The truck carrying the tusk was following too closely behind the lead vehicle, some Asian version of a rover. Ace and I had them flanked on their left side. Joseph and Frederick waited 50 yards up trail, blocking any possibility of their doubling back. We fired at the same time, the two of us, putting a pair of rounds each into the truck driver's ear, turning his head into oatmeal, just as the lead vehicle braked to stop at our improvised roadblock. It worked out better than we'd hoped. The truck slammed into the back of the rover, steam geysered from the crushed radiator. The driver's headless body fell forward onto the steering wheel and the horn blared. We kept firing, picking them off easily as they scrambled from the damaged vehicles. Frederick and Joseph did their share, killing the gunmen in the back of the truck before they could cover and return fire. Only one of the poachers showed any fieldcraft at all, rolling off the far side of the truck and staying low, firing bursts in our direction to give us something to think about. If they'd all been as good as him, we'd have had more of a contest on our hands. But as it was, we had him bracketed. Joseph got the angle and ended it. And my story doesn't end there, but I'm going to.
Thank you all so much for coming. It's always a pleasure to host these wonderful readings and events here at Rosemont. Please be sure to come to our next reading, which is scheduled for Wednesday, March 9th.